Welcome back to my channel. It's Mama Beauties here, and this is a place where your opinion matters and hate I will not tolerate. And I am just coming on here to do my other video about Asperger's. This will probably be my last video for the day because I'm going to get my granddaughter and I'm going to spend time with my son and my granddaughter. And she spent the night, so I won't have time. She's only 1 year old to take care of an 8-year-old and a 1-year-old and a dog and do more videos. So I will answer all your questions tomorrow on my first video. And so that gives you guys time to put more questions. And like I said, there is nothing that I am not willing to answer. And if it's something that I won't, then I will let you know. Now, Asperger's in women present itself different than men, and we have already went over the escape in friendships and the innocence part of Asperger's. And in this, we are going to go over the comorbid attributes and social interactions. So there are so much more to cover. These are just different parts of the Asperger's in women. And again, there was a poll of 100 women with Asperger's, and all 100 women had these things in common. And so comorbid means something that is running simultaneously with another medical condition. So the comorbid attributes would be other things that you might have and also have Asperger's at the same time. Asperger's is no longer called Asperger's. It is called high functioning autism. And so you are on the spectrum. Now, the comorbid attributes with a woman with Asperger's are, she usually has either ADHD or OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And so another one would be sensory issues. And I have sensory issues big time. There's certain textures I cannot have in my mouth. There are certain things about tags that drive me crazy. The metal button on the back of a pants will drive me crazy. And so I have plenty of texture issues and sight and sound. My hearing is so heightened. I can hear someone talking about me in the other room. And so my smells are definitely heightened. And so these are some of the things that come along with women with Asperger's. And we also usually have some generalized anxiety because our thoughts are constantly racing. We're always worried about things happening. And so that usually brings on anxiety. There is a sense of pending doom all the time. I remember that when my babies were infants, I would go into their room every hour to make sure they were still breathing. I was always worried about SIDS. When I go out at night to Walmart at late, I always worry that somebody's going to get me in the parking lot. When I go to bed at night, since I live at home alone, I worry about someone getting into my window. And so I go around making sure all the windows are locked. And I'm constantly worried about my daughter and my son. And so there's always this pending doom that I just can't stop thinking about. Now, does leave me in a sense of paranoid state, but also for my advantage, I am always fully aware of my surroundings and what's going on because of this pending doom. And there are feelings of polar extremes, such as depressed one moment and overjoyed the next. And then you can be inconsiderate in one moment and then very, very sensitive the next, right after you were just inconsiderate. So there's poor muscle tone and double jointed. I can lay my thumb on I don't know if you can see, but on my wrist like that. My hands are double jointed. My knees are double jointed. They said, what else? Lack of coordination and eating disorders sometimes come along with Asperger's, such as food obsessions and or worrying about constantly what you are eating. Irritable bowel and or intestinal issues, gastrological problems come with it, and I can attest to that. I'm only 40 and I've already had a colonoscopy. And they also say that women with Asperger's have chronic fatigue and or immune challenges, and that happened when I was younger. I was constantly getting strep throat, tonsillitis. I mean, I was sick all the time as a kid, and what it did is it built up immunities for me, so I don't get sick that much, knock on wood, as an adult. So these immune issues definitely plagued me as a child. And experiences multiple physical symptoms, perhaps labeled a hypochondriac. The night my daughter went into labor, or the morning my daughter went into labor, I was in the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack because my heart went and stopped racing. But really, I was just having heart palpitations. It was from anxiety, but I assumed that I was having a heart attack. And so I'm constantly worried about my lungs. I don't even smoke anymore. I Juul, but the whole vaping thing that's out there, I'm super scared that the Juul is going to give me lung cancer like my dad had. And so I'm constantly thinking about all these things. And so they're often misdiagnosed or diagnosed with different mental illness like borderline personality or bipolar, because some of the things on Asperger's mimic those things, but there's so much more that goes along with it. So some people have been misdiagnosed and truly they just have Asperger's. You do have to go to a psychological or a psychiatrist. Do not go by my symptoms here. Definitely go get your assessment. Ask your doctor for a referral to a psychiatrist, and they will give you assessments and let you know if you are on the spectrum. That happened to me at 41 years old. So, we are always questioning our place in the world. You know, what are we supposed to do? What are we here for? All of that, constantly wondering what is our purpose in life. Often drop small objects. We are not very coordinated. We always wonder who we are and what is expected of us. We're constantly wondering that. And if we are meeting expectations or if we are below expectations. And we search for right and wrong in everything. And since puberty, we had bouts of depression, and that's true. And another one of those comorbid attributes is rubs fingernails. Now, you guys, I'm getting ready to read these things to you, and I have done every single one of these in my videos, so you will be able to pick up on that, especially now that I'm going to tell you about it, because you will be looking for them. Flicks or rubs fingernails. I'm constantly rubbing my fingernails, just constantly. It don't matter if there's polish on them. I rub them like this. I rub them like that. I'm constantly messing with my fingernails. My son does the next one. He flaps his hands. He gets real excited and he flaps his hands. Picks your scalp or skin. I have not gotten that bad, but I'm constantly itching right there. I will itch my scalp all the time during my videos. Rubs hands together. I do that all the time. Tucks hands between or under your legs. I do that all the time too. That's if I'm messing with my hands too much, I will put them between my legs. And keeps a closed fist and paces in circles. You should see me talking on the phone. When I'm on the phone, I am back and forth, just moving around when I'm on the phone. And clears throat often. You guys will hear me clear my throat a lot too. And I didn't realize this until I read this research that I did it as much as I do. But yes, I am constantly clearing my throat. The social interaction part of it is friends have ended friendships suddenly and or difficult time making friends without female as understanding why. I don't understand what that one is. It'll come back to me later, but let's move on. Tendency to overshare. Obviously, I made this YouTube channel and I'm oversharing, and so it is just part of my personality and who I am. And it is helping me to share, you guys. Spills intimate details to strangers. I definitely did that in my last few videos. So, raised hand too much in class or didn't participate in class. Little impulse control with speaking when younger. So I would just blurt stuff out, and I had to learn the hard way. And I used to not make eye contact with people when I was younger. But now I make eye contact with people so I can see how they are responding to what's coming out of my mouth. That is the only way for me to be able to gauge if I am saying something inappropriate that they don't feel like I should be sharing. So I'm constantly looking at the eyes to look for the or something like that, so I know when to shut up. The next one is monopolizes conversations at times. I can always bring things back to me, and I'm working on this. I am very self-aware of this, and sometimes people will pour out to me, and then I will in turn, instead of supporting and uplifting them, I will in turn tell them I've been through the same thing and just immediately tell my story. So it's not all about me, and I am learning that through life. Trust me. Every day I become better and better. We bring subjects back to ourselves was the next one. Comes across at times as a narcissist and controlling, but we are not narcissist and controlling. This is just who we are and how it looks to society and how we come across, because people don't understand Asperger's. A lot of people never even heard of it. I didn't until my son was diagnosed, and that was only 4 years ago. So I've only really studied on Asperger's for the last 4 years, and that's what helped me to realize that I needed to be tested. And then come to find out, I got my dad's discharge papers from the Army, and he was discharged from the Army for a personality disorder. So that's what they called it back then. So possibly, I've always thought my dad had it, and when I got those papers from his DD-214, I saw that and was like, wow, it was just answered questions. Shares in order to reach out. I have done that with you guys, that's for sure. I shared my journey in order to reach out and help someone. Often sounds eager and overzealous or apathetic and disinterested. Holds a lot of thoughts and ideas and feelings inside. I am the worst to not let people know when something they did bothered me, and I will push it down, and then I will push it down, and they'll do something else, and I'll push it down, and they never knew any of that stuff was bothering me, and then I implode, and then I just let them know about all of it, even from 1992, and this is not bad. I mean, this is not good. I should deal with this as the problems come, so I'm not pushing all these things down and holding in these feelings. She feels as if she is attempting to communicate correctly, so whenever I'm not communicating correctly, I still in my mind think that I am, and even though you're not understanding, to me, I think that I'm explaining it in a perfect way, even though I'm not. And obsesses about the potentiality of a relationship with someone, and particularly a love interest or a feasible new friendship. So there are times that women with Asperger's can misunderstand signals and think that they have a relationship with somebody when a guy is just being friendly with you. And so we can take words and actions out of context and create this fantasy in our head that we are dating this person, and when all actuality they want nothing to do with us. True in my younger years. Says that confused by the rules of accurate eye contact, tone of voice, and proximity of the body stance and posture in conversation. So I get too close to people when I'm talking. I get too loud to people when I'm talking. Sometimes I will look away when I'm talking, and they won't know that I'm still talking to them because I'm looking away. Me and my son both do this. We stand too close to people, and people are all about their personal space. And so I had to learn boundaries between me and people. And, your body stance and posture can offend people in the middle of a conversation. So you have to be aware of how you're standing and acting no matter what, because we can come across as being insensitive when we're really not trying to be. Conversations are often exhausting with us and question the actions and behaviors of others and oneself continually. I am always wondering why somebody did that, why I did that, why the world works this way, why, I constantly am wanting to know why people did things that they did, and why they, like Chris, like I am just wondering how he can act this way and how he can be this way. I just don't understand. I've never met anyone quite like Chris, or heard of. I've never met Chris, but except for Patrick, and they're both like two peas in a pod. It's crazy. And so we feel like we are missing a conversation or a gene or a thought filter. We feel like something is wrong, that we were born this way without everything that we were supposed to have. And so I honestly feel like at times I wish I had a filter. We trained ourselves in social interactions through reading and studying people. Just like I told you, I try to look at people's facial expressions and their eyes to see if what I'm saying is shocking them or if I can continue to talk. And then visualizes and practices how she will act around others. I do a rehearsal video of my video before I post it, and I don't do it with all of them, but some of them I do rehearse. Rehearses in mind what she will say to another before entering the room. So I do pump myself up when I'm getting ready to have a hard conversation or a nervous conversation with somebody. I will pump myself up before I do it. I will practice. I will, that's just part of us with Asperger's. Difficulty filtering out background noise when talking to others. Like if the TV's up too loud, my kids will attest to this. Like I can't think when the TV's too loud, or if there's too loud music. I cannot speak and hold a conversation with all this chaos and noise going on in the background. It's too distracting for me. So I have to have conversations in the quiet. And it says, has a continuous dialogue in mind that tells her what to say and how to act when in a social situation. So I have put my foot in my mouth enough times and made a butt out of myself enough times by blurting stuff out that now I am very particular about what I say, and I try to be very thorough before I say something. And our sense of humor sometimes seems quirky, odd, inappropriate, or different from others. And so remember I told you guys in a previous video that sometimes I will joke about things and it's just too soon. And so people don't find my humor funny. I remember at my dad's funeral, I was cracking jokes about being outside smoking cigarettes, and he died of lung cancer. And so everybody looked at me like I was nuts. And I was. Now that I look back at it, I was in grief, and I was an addict, and I was distraught, and that is a defense mechanism for me, is to crack a joke. So, but people don't take it that way, and they didn't know at that point that I had Asperger's. And so as a child, it was hard to know when it was her turn to talk, so I would just interrupt people, and I still do that to this day, but I do work on listening more than talking. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so we could listen twice as much as we talk. And I find norms of conversations confusing, and finds unwritten and unspoken rules difficult to grasp and remember and apply. So all these unspoken rules or things that are expected of me socially, or what people already know socially, I have a hard time understanding. And that is the end of social and comorbid attributes. And the next video about Asperger's in women will be about me finding refuge alone. And out of 100 women with Asperger's, they all found refuge alone. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to enjoy my family for the rest of the day, and everybody have a Sunday fun day. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe.